Welcome to the Chester Centurions podcast, where we dive into the stories behind the region's most driven entrepreneurs, innovators and leaders. I'm Alan Bark, Business Growth Specialist and founder of Action Coach Chester. Each episode we uncover the mindset, challenges and defining moments that shape great businesses and the people who lead them. In today's episode, I'm joined by Nick Evans, co-founder and CEO of Oxbury Bank, the UK's first and only specialist bank dedicated entirely to the food and farming sector. Nick shares how Oxbury went from a two-man idea on a train to a £1 billion challenger bank with over 250 employees, headquartered right here in Chester. We'll explore the lessons behind the rapid growth, the power of culture and customer focus, and the vision that's redefining agricultural banking. Let's dive in. So Nick, welcome to the Chester Centurion podcast.
Thank you.
So before we get started today, Nick, I'd love to know a little bit more about Oxbury Bank and tell us a bit about the business.
Okay, so well, first of all, thank you very much indeed for having me on. And in terms of Oxbury Bank, well, first of all, we are a bank, just like all the high street banks that people will recognise on here. But your listeners may not have heard of us, and the reason for that is from a lending point of view, we only lend to farmers, the food and farming sector. So we're a specialist bank for the food and farming sector. Those are our lending customers. Anybody can save with Oxbury. So we have, circa 100,000 odd savers, and therefore the chances of somebody listening in who will be a customer of Oxbury from the savings side is high. But from lending, it's only food and farming. So that's the background to us. We actually went live with the business back in 2021, February 2021. So we've been lending now and taking deposits for just over 4 years. The process of getting a banking license, I guess most of the listeners will have seen Bank of Dave.
Yeah.
And the process by which you do or you don't get a banking license. Obviously, Dave didn't, but it is a very admin-intensive process. And they don't want the Bank of England, as those who've seen Bank of Dave will know, it's a difficult process and it's highly bureaucratic. You go through a lot of hoops, and it took 2 years to get that banking license. So it is quite a heavy process. Anyway, so we started that in February 2019, got it in February 2021, and been live ever since.
Very good. And I think when we first talked, you said that the number of banks over the last 100 years is pretty small, right? The number of licenses that have been issued.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I think there's about 30 who've started from a greenfield site. There've been more licenses issued to subsidiaries of foreign banks and that sort of thing, but about 30 brand new banks in the UK. And again, the listeners will be familiar with many of those, like Monzo and Atom and Starling and Tandem and Oak North, if you're in business. So there are other banks out there who've started. Some of them are well known, some of them not so well known, and in the farming world, I think if you're farming, you're likely to have heard of Oxbury now, even though it's been such a short time.
That's so cool. And the headquarters are local.
Yeah, so we have offices in Chester. So since when we first started, of course, there were two of myself and my co-founder James Farrow. We started back in fact, I've known James for hundreds of years. Since 1989, we both started at Capital Bank. In the same week in September 1989. But he started in the marketing area and I started in the agricultural area. Anyway, wind forward to 2018, I'd just sold an IT business. He'd just come out of launching another bank, actually, called Clearbank. Mm-hmm. And we met on a train and I said, I want to set up an agricultural bank, and I listed the reasons why and what the opportunity was. And he said, I'd love to join you on that journey. So that the two of us set off. So there were two of us in 2018, and there's 250 of us now. The headquarters, as you say, is based out of Chester. We're in the offices by the station and in the steam mill, again, for those of you who know the area. So it's grown quite a bit since then, and of course the success of a bank isn't just about how many people you employ. It's how successful you've been on the lending side, and of course if you need to lend, you need to get savings in to do the lending. So your savings and lending need to keep pace. But the business has been very successful in the few short years we've been live. We've now up to 6% market share of all UK farm borrowing.
Wow.
And on course for nudging over 10% by through the course of next year. So yeah, the business is growing very rapidly. One of, if not the fastest bank ever to profitability in the UK. Again, not through charging high prices, but really through controlling costs and having a tight focus on what we're trying to do.
And 250 staff in such a short period of time is not to be sneezed at, Nick. That's an achievement in its own.
The issue with growing fast in terms of numbers of employees, and you've probably had some of your other people on the podcast refer to this, when you start a business, the vision and the strategy and what you're trying to do is really clear to both of you. And you share about it, you talk about it all the time. And as you recruit the first couple of people and then the next couple of people and so on, that communication, because there's only a handful of you in the business right at the start, everyone is infected by the same, vision and enthusiasm and motivation and so on. So in the early days, when you're up to say 50, 60 people, getting that culture into the business and all the employees that join is relatively easy. When you go over 100 people and then over 200 people, ensuring that same culture persists is gets trickier. And one of the things we try and do is every cohort of people that come in to the business. So we've got 9 people starting this coming Monday, and that cohort of 9, within the first month or two, will have an induction from James Farrow, my co-founder, from myself, and from our chief risk officer, Robin, so that they get from us directly the values and the culture and what it is we're trying to do, the part that they play in the business, and really why their job makes a difference to what we're trying to do.
Wow. That's some powerful stuff there. And I think I haven't heard that before. So thank you for that, Nick. So, a company up to a size of around about 50, we can still get that the values, the vision, the mission, the values, the structure, then the strategies for the company communicated well. But it becomes more difficult once you get 100, 200, 300 employees.
Well, it's actually for the first employees, it transfers almost by osmosis.
Yes.
So James and I we still wander around the office all the time, talking to people and making sure that everyone's up to speed and knows what they're doing, and we keep a tab on. Like, it's good to make sure that you're seen and visible.
Yes.
But of course, as you get to 200, you're diluted a lot, aren't you? So that vision and drive is diluted. But it's so important. It's so important. If you look at all the successful businesses who've built up a brand which has some values, those come from the founders, and making sure those persist through the organisation ongoing as it gets bigger and bigger would, I suspect, if you spoke to any new people who set up businesses, that is the biggest challenge they have. Yeah,
and the focus and the energy you're putting into that makes sense, Nick. And I remember the one that springs to mind is Richard Branson and Virgin Airlines. And even if you were a trainee stewardess or steward, he would hand you your wings when you passed out of the induction. You got your badge from Richard Branson, and he talked to you one-to-one, every single employee. And I really, I'm impressed with the amount of focus and energy you're putting into that, and the importance you're putting on it as the company continues to grow. There's a big lesson there, big lesson.
Well, the communication of the values of the business. I mean, in so many occasions when you go on courses, management courses, you spend a morning, maybe if it's a week-long course, you spend a morning working through and talking about what's the mission and what's the values of the company and so on. But we were really clear when we set the company up about the values and what it is we were trying to do, and those fed through to the values that we have in the business. And there's 4 of them. One is integrity. You do what you say you're going to do. You don't let people down. If you're going to mess up, you put your hand up and say, I've messed up. No judgment, no criticism. And that integrity piece is key to the whole thing. The second one is competition. We love competing. We want to win. We want to win everything. So
I love that.
there's a bit of a roller coaster because you can't win everything, but we want to win everything. And the biggest one, of course, is customers. And every business will have customers and a focus on customers as their values. Even our main competitors, the big banks. The reality is, we win people. We are winning business today because we ring people back.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that to the staff. I said, we win business because we ring people back. And they say, nah, everyone rings. No. And it's not a high hurdle, is it? You ring people back. But it's not so many. We won a £10 million deal the other day because we rang the customer back.
My gosh. My gosh.
But anyway, a focus on customers, an absolute focus on customers, not just liking us or tolerating us, but actually loving us. We want our customers to absolutely love us and rave about us. And one of the things we do in the business is we keep tabs on the farming forum, which is it's where disgruntled farmers go to bitch about stuff. It might be tractors, and it might be their machinery, it might be the weather, often the weather, always the government, but of whatever colour, by the way.
Yeah.
And but banks and everything. So it's a very revealing place and a sobering place to go and have a look about what people are talking about your brand. But I'm actually really quite pleased with the general feedback we're getting on the Farmers Forum about their views on Oxbury and what it is we're doing.
Yeah.
The most common phrase on there is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
So we're not like the main banks. We don't want to be like the main banks, and we're going the opposite way to their strategic direction of retiring to a call centre and no personalised service and no specialised service. And you ring up and you speak to Chardonnay or Kevin in the call centre, and they don't really understand what the farmer's talking about.
Yeah.
But by the way, that could be, I suspect if you talk to accountants or doctors or lawyers or dentists or vets or other professionals, they would have the same issue. They want to deal with a bank and they want to speak to someone, have a relationship with someone, just like the old days. And the fact that the high street banks are pulling back from that and we're going the other way and providing more and more of it is a principal differentiation.
Absolutely love it. And there's a very powerful lesson there. I've written it down. We win business because we ring people back. And, whether you're a joiner, a builder, in any of the trades, really. I mean, there isn't a high bar there either.
No.
Ring your customers back.
Bring customers back, yeah.
Really.
Just speak to, and from our perspective as well. I mean, the people, the frontline troops, the people who are dealing with farmers, they're not just the relationship managers. There's a strong cohort of people in the operations area who also speak to farmers, and the savings area who also speak to farmers. Many of those people are farmers' sons and daughters, so they've grown up speaking farmer. And of course, it's all English, but the fact is farmers talk in a different language in the same way as that all of us in a profession speak in a different language.
Of course.
Yeah. We all have our jargon and our lingo, but if we talk to a farmer about what AI means, it probably isn't artificial intelligence. It's something to do with insemination. and transition isn't transitioning from one gender to another. It's about transitioning from a high carbon agronomics farming system to a lower carbon system. So it's things like a TB. I don't know how many of the listeners would know what TB was in the context of farming, but TB is tuberculosis. It's a major problem in dairy farms, and the fact that we don't have to ask what TB means, everyone in the business knows what TB is. Yeah. It's so fundamental to dairy farming.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I can see your USP. I can see the differential here, and I can see why you're growing so fast. Really cool. If we go back to the point where you'd sold your IT business, what was it that really motivated you when you're sitting on that train with your colleague? What motivated you to have that discussion about starting your own bank? Where did that come from?
Okay, so the IT business was a multinational. In fact, all over the world, except we weren't in South America, but North America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia and New Zealand. So we were all over about 30 countries or so. In the course of that, there was a lot of traveling, as you can imagine, but met a lot of people. And looking at the agricultural industries in those territories, number one, I realised that the UK, the British farmers, are amongst the best in the world. And if they had in my view, if they had a financial backing that really understood what they were doing and backed them to become, more productive, more efficient, bigger, better, stronger, adding value, and so on and so forth, then we could improve UK farming and create a big business off the back of it. So that's a significant motivation. Just to give you an example, clearly an agricultural bank is not a new thing. So there are around the world, in the top 20 banks in the world, 3 of them have their origins in farming.
Right.
So Crédit Agricole, one of the top 10 banks in the world, roots in French farming. Rabobank, roots in farming, one of the biggest banks in the world, based out of the Netherlands, looking after Dutch farmers. The Agricultural Bank of China, I think that's number 3 or number 4 in the world now, with its roots in Chinese banking, in Chinese farmer banking. So it's not a new concept. But if you look at, let's just take France, Netherlands, Germany, and the UK. So 4 countries, Northwest Europe. We all look kind of the same. We've got the same kind of history. We've got the same kind of laws, same sort of weather, same kind of agriculture all the way through. So we should be broadly the same, shouldn't we? The reality is, though, if you look at France with Crédit Agricole, French farming, French agriculture, as a percentage of French GDP, is 1.7%. So it's really, really important to the French economy. If you look at the Netherlands with Rabobank, 1.6% of Dutch GDP. If you look at the UK and Germany, that hasn't got neither of which have got a specialist agricultural bank, it's 0.7.
Gosh.
That's not a coincidence, Alan. That's not a coincidence. So behind the scenes, we have multiple KPIs by which we measure the bank. Of course, cost income ratios, liquidity, capital ratios, multiple KPIs, key performance indicators. But actually, a real one would be what percentage of UK GDP is farming. And if we can get that by focusing on helping UK farmers to invest and develop and grow, become more productive and efficient, then I think we can help. It will help the economy grow. Mm-hmm. And that's why, again, non-political. The Chancellor asking various ministries and quangos about how to help grow the UK economy. She doesn't need to be talking to quangos and ministries. She needs to be talking to people who actually, to farmers, for example, or businesses. What do we need to do to help you grow? And actually, a lot of it's about confidence and investment.
Interesting. Really interesting. Gosh. And those numbers are shocking.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, 0.7 is still a very big business. Farming is a really important part of the UK economy, but we only feed, UK farmers only produce 60% of what we eat. We're only 60% self-sufficient. And in an unstable world that we're in today, I mean, you've only got to see the nonsense going on in the news with what's going on, really all around the world, I suppose. To have a reliance on third-party countries feeding us, we can't live without food. So to rely on third-party countries exporting their produce to this country seems to me to be foolish. Yeah.
You're obviously very driven, very focused. You're at the head of a rapidly growing business. How do you maintain a work-life balance as a business owner? Do you have any sort of personal rituals or habits that keep you motivated and focused next?
So I think, in common with anybody who's set up a business and people who are running their own businesses, generally the business that they're running is their hobby and what they really love doing. And if you don't love doing that, then the chances of you being successful are much diminished. So when I'm at work, it isn't really like being at work. I love doing what I do. And so in terms of work-life balance, it's actually a life balance. I love what I do. I enjoy what I do. The minute that I don't like doing what I do, I'll probably stop doing it. But there's no sign on that. And it is hugely motivating. There are parts of the job which I enjoy more than others, of course. But being able to help businesses and then see the results of what you've done in terms of the profitability of that business you've just helped is unbelievably motivating.
So what I'm hearing is if you can monetize your hobby or your passion, then there isn't any work-life balance. It's life balance, because you enjoy everything you do.
Yeah. I mean, if you talk to Harriet at home, then she would say that there isn't much of a work-life balance, and I spend too much time talking about work and worrying about work and doing work. But then out of the back of that, there's a lifestyle which we all enjoy, and so it all works well.
Well, I'm with you there, because I get up every morning looking forward to the day ahead. I look at my diary and I'm looking forward to my coaching sessions or whatever I've got on that day. Talking to you today, I was looking forward to it when I got up. So I get it. Business should be your hobby.
This should be your hobby. If you don't enjoy your work, then it absolutely is a work, isn't it? It's a chore. So when we employ people as well, we're very mindful of the fact that people come to work, they spend more time at work than they do doing most other things, and therefore they need to be enjoying it. So we actively encourage. I mean, in terms of the demographic of the staff in the office, we actively try and ensure that half the staff are under 30. And what does that do? Why is that important? I think that's important because under 30 is when you're most driven, you're most enthusiastic, you're most passionate, you're most looking to get on, you don't mind working hard, your commitments are slightly lower in terms of outside commitments, and therefore you can give it your all. Part one. But part two, the atmosphere that younger people create in an office environment is a buzz, it's a chatter, so when people come to the office, they can feel the energy in the office, and it's not coming from me, it's coming from everyone on the floor.
Wow, pretty cool. So business is moving faster than I think I've ever seen it move, and it ain't going to slow down. It's only getting faster. How do you stay adaptable and open to change, and what are the strategies that you use to remain innovative?
Okay, so that's a very easy one, isn't it? You listen to customers.
There we
go.
You
listen to customers. I mean, that's not difficult. You listen to customers, you hear what they're saying. Now, of course, and you say, well, that's what in an ideal world, when the customer says, in an ideal world, what I'd like is this. And in most cases, you can change a strategy, or you can change your tactics in order to be able to deliver that. You don't change the strategy, you change the tactics to deliver what it is they're asking for. But that has some fundamental dependencies, and one of our key advantages, really, over and above the incumbent banks, the likes of your Lloyds and your NAPs and so on, is IT. So again, really lucky in respect of when you start a new bank. We started with a greenfield site from an IT perspective, and we built an IT system that was ideally suited for managing savings and managing the loans of our farmer customers. And it was cloud-based from day one, of course. The security was put in from day one, of course. It was mobile-enabled, internet-enabled, connectivity with other systems through open APIs, managed for cybersecurity risk as well, of course. But so our IT system, with its workflow processes, allows us to make quicker decisions and execute quicker than our competition. And when we secure a deal from a farmer, we key that deal into our UIT system, and it flows through from credit to operations to underwriting to credit to payout, and on we go. Really quick, bang, 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 bang. So whereas if you're working in another bank, you're keying that deal 5, 6, 7, 8 times, same deal into different systems. When our underwriters look at a credit proposal, they're looking at everything on one screen. So it goes off for a credit search. The credit search comes back and populates a screen that they look at. All the analytics, the accounts come in. They're transcribed into a common format, so they're looking at a common set of financial metrics, which allows them to rapidly make decisions, and then from which we can then execute to paying out a loan. If you're in another high street bank, the chances are you're looking at multiple systems and even paper. Well, you have to have more people, it's more time consuming, the potential for errors is higher. So underpinning actually all our advantages, I've talked about having people and relationships and so on in the business, but underlying it, actually it's IT. IT delivers advantages. And the evolution of AI is going to just accelerate our ability to be able to compete harder.
Yeah,
and we've also opened up in New Zealand as well. So we've sent some people over to New Zealand so that when our staff here finish and walk out the door at 5:30, 6 o'clock and go home, then the guys in New Zealand are walking into the office and picking up where they left off, so we can process 24 hours a day. and that just takes the service level up to another notch.
So
And that's not just a nice to have. If any of your listeners are running businesses, you don't want to wait weeks and weeks and weeks for a decision. You've
no,
decided to invest in something or buy something or do something. You want a rapid response. You don't want to be waiting for weeks.
it's something that Jeff Ram. I don't know if you've ever heard of Jeff Ram, but he talks about celebrity service. You know, how would you look after an A-list celebrity if they walked into your business? One of his key takeaways was the speed of response and the personalization of the response. And you've talked about both there. You've talked about we listen to our clients. We employ a lot of farmers' sons and daughters that understand the language. We can talk and from a point of knowledge about the experiences that these farmers are having, and we can respond rapidly, are the two main keys for providing an exceptional service. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. Mm.
Could you offer a glimpse into the future plans for the business? What's next? You mentioned New Zealand there, Nick. Are you going global?
Well, global implies every country in the world, but so selectively we would. I think Australia and New Zealand will be exciting. So those two would be, on the cards. I mean, subject, of course, to board and shareholder approval, etc. But they speak the same language. They have the same kind of financial rules. The same issues that are affecting farmers here are affecting farmers there. So that would make sense. But then probably come back closer to home and look at some countries around Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really cool. What a couple of questions left. First of all, I'd like to thank you so much, Nick. There's some absolute gold dust in there for anyone who's listening. But the next question is the big one, and it's what are the three biggest pieces of advice that you could offer to maybe someone having challenges in their business at the moment, or maybe contemplating starting a business for the first time? What's your top three?
Okay. So number one, when you set out, you will have a very clear idea about what it is you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
You'll write that down and you'll tell all your potential investors or your potential backers or your friends and family about what it is you're trying to do. And then you'll go out there and you'll start talking to potential customers about your plan. And my first bit of advice is do not be afraid to change your strategy at any point during your life cycle. So if your product offer, your proposition isn't hitting fertile ground, then change it to something that does, something that is.
Beautiful.
Number one. My second one is my previous business, the IT business, was a little bit groundbreaking. So it was a actually it was new. It was a new product, again in the food and agricultural sector. And that was tougher than starting a bank because everyone knows what banking is. It's been around for thousands of years. Everyone gets what a bank does. It lends money and it takes savings and makes a margin in between. So you're not having to explain the concept. So my advice, my point there being, when you're thinking about starting a business, you don't have to do something brand new. You just have to do something that everyone understands better than anybody else, or cheaper or quicker. Better, cheaper or quicker. Ideally all three, but if you can't do all three, try to do at least two of those. You don't have to invent something new. I remember a very good friend of mine, he left the army and was wondering what to do. He was ex-special forces, and I said, well, what about going to private security? He goes, oh, everyone goes into private security. There's no market there. I said, well, why don't you do better private security then and just be better than everybody else? Get there quicker, be more responsive, blah, blah, blah. So that would be my second bit of advice. You don't have to do. And then my final one, which is from bitter experience, is when you start a business, on the day you start it, set up a data room and hold everything that you are doing, put everything you are doing into that data room so that at some point, if someone comes to buy you, you've got everything in one place and you're not rooting around looking for something you did 10 years ago. as evidence of how the business has grown and performed.
Keep records.
That might sound a bit niche, but again, anybody who is listening that has bought and sold businesses will realise the importance of a data room. And the sooner you start it, the better. And day one isn't too early.
Wow. That 3 absolute crackers there. Don't be afraid to change direction, change strategies when you need to.
Yeah.
The second one here, I absolutely love, and thank you for this, Nick. I'm gonna take this one away with me. You don't have to do something new. You just have to be better, cheaper, and quicker, or at least 2 of them.
Yeah,
love that. And on the day that you start, make sure that you're keeping your records, make sure you have a data room, make sure you keep everything in there, because you're going to have to refer back to that at exit or at some point in the future. Absolute gold dust. I love it. Absolutely love it. I've got a pay it forward question, and this is from a really interesting company that's been on the podcast, the last guest I had on, and they write the software that goes on to SIM cards, and they work with some of the big national providers, mostly in the States. I think there's some military connections there as well. And he asks, have you considered the sort of 1, 2, or 3 things that, his language, not mine, that would absolutely screw your future? So I guess this is looking at thinking clearly under pressure, to quote Sir Clive Woodward, or maybe have a look at your SWOT analysis. How seriously do you take understanding the threat environment towards your business?
So, risk in a bank is clearly fundamental.
Yeah.
And one of the top 3 positions, I guess, in a bank, a CEO, CFO, and chief risk officer would be the final of the 3, are really, really important positions. And then you look and you everyone would say, but if you're a bank, think, what risks they take? Well, clearly the risk of lending money, so credit risk. But actually, within a banking environment, the rest of the risks will be the same as everyone else. Operational risks. You've got people who make mistakes, and how do you spot those mistakes? And are any of them going to be fundamental? You've got, for us, environmental risk. If it's too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry, all the things that farmers moan about all the time, the weather is clearly really is a risk. Reputational risk. So if we lend, or we lend badly, or if the event we have to do something about our security, that's a reputational risk. Cybersecurity risks, IT risks, and so on. So the monitoring and management of risks within a bank is fundamental. Our risk policies, and there would be multiple of them, are overseen by the Bank of England. There is a top 10 list of risks, top 10 risks in the business, which are monitored at every board meeting. And the board, by the way, is eight guys on the board, soon to be 9, or 8 people, I should say, on the board, soon to be 9. The management and monitoring of risk, the adoption and the adaptation of policies associated with risk are considered at every board meeting. There's a board risk committee which reports to the board, which continually analyses risk. Within the business, there's compliance, risk functions, and so on. So would be probably about 1/6, nudging 1/5 of the business.
Really? So that was pure coincidence, by the way, that was the last question. You got that question, because I don't think we could ask that question to a more prepared person, to be honest, Nick.
well, within, and by the way, my natural tendencies would be to the positive. I'm not even glass half full. I'm glad to have a glass that positive. And but risk, which is the opposite end of the spectrum, the Eeyores of the world, who constantly see doom and gloom and are not negative, but they see the world in a different way.
Yeah.
And I'm not that person, but chief risk officers and the people in that team see risks at every turn, and they are invaluable in any business in counterbalancing the sort of gung-ho types that might exist in the sort of more commercial environments.
That's such a good answer. Thank you so much for that, Nick. And one final question from me then is do you have a pay it forward question for my next guest? I've kind of sprung that on you, so you can think about it if you like, or you can tell me now.
Well, I don't know who your next guest is, Alan. So I'll need to think about that. Think about the context. So yeah.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll have a look at the diary and I'll forward you who my next guest is and you can respond to it. So if you're watching, you have to watch the next episode to find out what next Pay It Forward question is. So thank you so much for being on today. Honestly, so much value in that for anybody watching, Nick. And thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for your time.
Cheers now. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.